In the heart of feudal Japan, where the clash of swords echoes like thunder and honor is the only law, there exists a legend that has survived the passage of time and the shadows of oblivion. This is not a tale of simple victories or fleeting glory, but one that carries the weight of an immortal destiny. It is the story of a man who, facing forces beyond human comprehension, sacrificed everything to ensure peace. Yet, his legend never faded. This is the story of the immortal samurai, whose name was lost to the pages of history, but whose soul remains etched in the spirit of Japan. Prepare yourself, for what you are about to hear will linger in your heart forever. The story begins in a small, secluded village, nestled between misty mountains and endless fields of rice. It was a time of relentless conflict, where warlords fought for power and the lives of the common folk hung by a thread. In this village, a boy named Takashi was born. From the moment he could walk, it was clear that he was different. His eyes carried a quiet determination, and his spirit burned with a fire that could not be extinguished. Takashi was not just a boy. He was a soul destined for greatness. As a child, Takashi would often wander to the edge of the village where an old, gnarled cherry tree stood. Beneath its branches, he would sit for hours, watching the petals fall like whispers from the heavens. It was here that he first felt the call of something greater, a connection to the land, to the spirits of his ancestors, and to a destiny he could not yet understand. His father, a retired samurai, recognized the spark within him and began training him in the ways of the sword. Day after day, under the watchful gaze of the setting sun, Takashi honed his skills, his blade cutting through the air with precision and grace. But Takashi was not just a warrior. He was a dreamer. He often spoke of a vision he had, a vision of a land free from war, where the people could live in harmony. His fellow villagers admired his courage, but feared his dreams were too grand for a world so steeped in bloodshed. Yet, Takashi held on to his vision, for he knew deep within his heart that his purpose was greater than himself. One fateful evening, as the village prepared for the annual harvest festival, a messenger arrived with urgent news. The warlord of the neighboring region had declared war, and his armies were marching toward the village. Panic spread like wildfire, but Takashi stood firm. He knew this was the moment he had been preparing for. The moment his training and his vision would be put to the test. With his father's sword in hand and the blessings of his people, Takashi led a small group of warriors to defend the village. The battle was fierce, with the clash of steel and the cries of the fallen filling the air. Takashi fought with a ferocity that stunned even the most seasoned soldiers. His blade moved like a dance, cutting through the enemy with precision and grace. But as the battle raged on, Takashi realized that victory would come at a cost. His father, who had fought by his side, fell to an enemy's blade. In his final moments, he whispered to Takashi, "The true strength of a samurai lies not in the sword, but in the heart," with his father's words echoing in his mind. Takashi rallied his warriors and drove the enemy back. The village was saved, but the victory was bittersweet. Takashi had lost his father, his mentor, and his guiding light. Yet, in that moment of grief, he felt a strange sense of clarity. He knew his journey was far from over. Weeks turned into months, and Takashi's reputation as a skilled and honorable warrior spread across the land. One day, an old monk arrived at the village, seeking Takashi. The monk spoke of an ancient artifact, a sword forged by the gods themselves, known as Tenshiko, the sword of the heavens. Legend had it that this sword possessed the power to change the course of destiny, but it was also a weapon of immense danger. If wielded by the wrong hands, it could bring about the destruction of the entire land. The monk told Takashi that the sword had been lost for centuries, hidden in the northern mountains, guarded by spirits and traps. But he believed that Takashi was the one destined to find it. "The sword calls to you," the monk said. "It is your destiny to wield it, not for power, but for peace." Takashi hesitated. He had seen the horrors of war and knew the dangers of seeking such power. But he also knew that if the sword fell into the wrong hands, the consequences would be catastrophic. With a heavy heart, he accepted the mission. The journey would be perilous. But Takashi was no stranger to danger. The path to the northern mountains was treacherous, with jagged cliffs, raging rivers, and forests shrouded in mist. Takashi traveled alone, his only companions the whispers of the wind and the memories of his father. Along the way, he encountered bandits, wild beasts, and even restless spirits. Each challenge tested not only his skill with the sword, but also his resolve. Yet, through it all, Takashi remained steadfast, driven by the belief that his actions could bring peace to the land. After weeks of travel, Takashi finally reached the entrance to the hidden cavern where the sword was said to rest. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the walls of the cavern were covered in ancient symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. As he ventured deeper, he felt a presence, a force that seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the earth itself. And then he saw it, the Tenshiko, resting on a pedestal of stone, its blade shimmering with a light that seemed to come from within. Takashi approached the sword cautiously, feeling its power radiating through the air. As he reached out to touch it, a voice echoed in his mind. "Do you seek power or do you seek peace?" it asked. Takashi closed his eyes and thought of his father, his village, and the vision of a land free from war. "I seek peace," he replied. In that moment, the sword's light intensified, and Takashi felt a surge of energy course through his veins. He had been chosen, but the sword's power came with a price. As Takashi emerged from the cavern, he was confronted by the god of war, a towering figure of fire and shadow. The god's voice boomed like thunder. "You dare to wield the sword of the heavens? Prove your worth, mortal, or be consumed by its power." What followed was a battle unlike any Takashi had ever faced. The god of war moved with inhuman speed and strength, his strikes shaking the very earth. Takashi fought with everything he had, his blade clashing against the gods with sparks that lit up the night sky. But no matter how hard he fought, the gods seemed unstoppable. It was then that Takashi realized the truth. The sword was not meant to defeat the god of war. It was meant to seal him. With a final, desperate cry, Takashi plunged the Tenshiko into his own chest, using his life force to activate the sword's true power. A blinding light erupted, engulfing the god of war and sealing him away for eternity. As the light faded, Takashi's body fell to the ground lifeless, but his soul, now bound to the sword, ascended into the heavens, becoming a guardian spirit that would watch over the land forever. To this day, the legend of the immortal samurai lives on. It is said that on quiet nights, when the wind whispers through the mountains, you can still feel Takashi's presence, a reminder of the sacrifice he made for peace. His story teaches us that true strength lies not in the sword, but in the heart. It is a lesson of courage, honor, and the enduring power of hope. If this story touched your heart and you want to discover more fascinating legends and tales from Japan, China, and Korea, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we explore everything from epic tales of courage and sacrifice to beautiful and emotional stories that will transport you to incredible worlds. Like this video, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments which part of the story resonated with you the most. Until the next adventure, where the past meets the future, in Waves of Legend.